Okay, we're all set. Great. And we will get some people joining us, but I will go ahead and get the introductions going. So good morning, everybody, and welcome to another City Updates live broadcast. I'm Jamie Chavez, your host with the Westminster Chamber of Commerce, and we're thrilled to have you with us today. As always, we're here to bring you the latest insights from City Hall, featuring conversations with our councilors, our mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and other city leaders as well. And so it's your backstage pass to what's happening in Westminster. If this is your first time joining us on the broadcast, thank you, a special welcome, and encourage you to like our Facebook page so that you can receive notifications for when we go live in the future. If you're on YouTube, you can hit subscribe, and then all of our previous broadcasts are there as well. Mondays on the broadcast are all about city updates, and on Wednesdays we offer a chance for the newest members to come on the broadcast and talk about their businesses and organizations, so I encourage you to join us for those as well. This Wednesday I'll be live with Marketing by Jay, and so I'm excited for them to be able to share what they bring to the area with you. And then we also reserved the last Friday of the month, which will be a Friday earlier this month on the 22nd. Interview with Jefferson County Commissioner Tracy Kraft-Tharp. So stay tuned for that for broader county matters. As you watch the broadcast today, feel free to engage with us, ask your questions, any comments, or just say hello, and we will get to those in the interview. And now, finally, a warm welcome to Westminster Chief of Police, Norm Haubert. How are you today?
Very good, Jamie. Thanks for having me today. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, welcome on. This is your first time on the broadcast. We're excited to have you here.
It is. It's new territory for me, so hopefully this is not my first and last. Hopefully it's one of many to come, so I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got Dave joining us. Good morning, Dave. And good morning, Melinda. Thank you for joining us. She says, thank you, Mr. Haubert, for your service, helping our community.
Absolutely.
And good morning, Brian. Thanks for joining. All right, well, since it's your first time on the broadcast, maybe just start out with an introduction to yourself.
Sure. One of my least favorite things to do is talk about myself. So, no, I'm like I said, it's an absolute privilege to be here. Look forward to the questions that people may have about how we can better serve the community. But just a little bit about me, a native of Colorado, born and raised here. Actually did most of my growing up in Broomfield, so not too far away. A lot of tromping through my high school and college days down in Westminster, Arvada, that type of thing. But yeah, born and raised here. My wife is also from here, so we're one of the few, it seems like, anymore. But started up in Broomfield back in 1995 as a police officer, then came down to Westminster here in 1999. Been through the different ranks of the department, served in traffic, community affairs, with code enforcement, with graffiti. Spent a majority of my time on patrol in traffic, doing that stuff. And then just kind of rose through the ranks, and then been the chief of police since March of 21, I guess. It's been a I'm sorry, not since 21, since she was 22. Sorry.
Yeah, those 4 years all kind of run together. So
sadly, they do. I mean, when I tell people that I've been in this business for almost 30 years, it doesn't seem possible. So yeah. It's an absolute blur sometimes.
So what initially inspired you to pursue a career in law enforcement?
I was I didn't have any family or friends in law enforcement. When I was 14, my mom was listening to a radio program, and I couldn't even tell you what the program was. And there was a division chief from the Los Angeles Police Department, and he was speaking. And it always been kind of interesting to me. But after listening to him, got off the listen to that radio program, and told my mom, I said, "So what I'm going to do." And mom and dad were like, "We'll see how that pans out and whatever else," and never looked back. That was made that decision then, and everything after that was kind of focused on that. When I went to graduated high school and then went right into college, knew that I couldn't be an officer until I was 21. And at that point in time, was up at CU, graduated from CU with a degree in sociology with an emphasis in criminology, which is a little bit different. A lot of people do criminal justice, which is the study more about the criminal justice system. Sociology with criminology is more about crime in and of itself, why people commit crimes, those types of things, more from a sociological perspective. But did that, had an uncle who was very passionate for me and helping me make sure that I stay in school and got my degree at that point in time, which was a good thing because I don't know that I would have had the discipline later on in life to finish my degree at that point in time. So very influential, very fortunate in that aspect of it. But yeah, graduated from CU in '94 and then went right into the police academy and then got hired the next year in Broomfield. And it was a good department to start with, but realized, this is where I wanted to be. And so came down here in '99 and then never looked back. It's been very fortunate to be here.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yes.
So what are some of your top priorities as the chief of police for Westminster?
Priorities internally and externally. Obviously, externally, the focus is to make sure that we are providing a safe community, but also that we're engaging with the community. It's not something that we have done well as an industry, but then we have kind of had our ebbs and flows within the department over the years. But, in order for the community to trust us, they got to know us. I can't just say, hey, trust us. Not that that's ever been a good business model, but it loses its luster real quick. And so in order for the community to trust us, they got to know us. So we got to be out there in the community, making sure they understand we're people. That this is a job that we're passionate about our job, but at the same time we're human. We're going to make mistakes, and that people just get to know us on the personal level. So that's a huge piece for me, and has been for a long time. And then internally, it's kind of the same thing. Making sure that we as the chief and as leaders within the department make sure that we're engaged with our staff. Because the more engaged we are with our staff and make sure that they know that we support them, want them to succeed both in their careers and out in the community, they trust us and they know that they can go out and do the right thing. And if we're more engaged with them, studies have shown that they're going to be happier employees. And if they're happier employees internally, they're going to be happier employees out in the community and providing better service. So I would say those are probably my top two priorities. Both internally and externally.
Awesome. And how do you balance the demands of leading the department with staying connected with the community?
It is a balance. I'm learning as I do every day. There are certain things that I just don't have the bandwidth to do. And some of that will then fall onto other members of the department. But, obviously opportunities like this are a great way to engage the community and let them see us for who we are, and that we're not robotic and that we're humans, and this is how we're all in this together. We obviously as police can't do this by ourselves. We need the community's help. We need the business community's help, one of the things that we always talk about is if you see something, say something. It's a big piece for us. We would rather come out there and find out that, that something nefarious wasn't going on, as opposed to finding out after the fact, when somebody goes, well, I saw him sitting there, I saw him in the vehicle doing this, and I should have called. We would absolutely encourage people that if they see something, say something. We would rather come out there and find out that it's nothing than find out after the fact that, something went horribly wrong.
Yeah. And can you speak to any, innovative programs or initiative that the department has recently implemented or is planning to implement?
So one of the things that we've started here, we started about a year and a half ago in earnest with a budget, and we set up a special events and engagement team. And what that has allowed us to do is we pulled a supervisor and we pulled 3 officers kind of out of their normal assignments, normal being patrol or traffic, something that the community would normally hear about, and what their task is to be engaged with the community. So it can include going on business walks with our economic development department, and to better understand what the business community needs and wants from us and how we better serve them. We're sending them to HOA meetings. They're also engaged in other other opportunities that we may not have done in the past, where, there's some of the traditional ones like Coffee with a Cop. We're partnering up with our rec department, our parks, recs, and libraries to do cuisine with the cop, but it's also paired up on the movie nights in the park. So we're kind of I'll just say the pre-movie entertainment. People can come out and meet us, and again, engage with us and see that we're humans, and we engage with the families. We bring out some of the cool, I'll say, toys that we have, but the armored rescue vehicle is one of the fan favorites. It's not often that we encourage kids to climb all over our equipment and let the parents know that they're not going to be able to break it. But it gives both the parents and the kids an opportunity to see us as people, and again, for us to have those one-on-one conversations with people about how we can better serve, what's going on in their neighborhood, what's going on at their business, and just have that adult conversation of, hey, how do we do things better, and realizing that we're all in this together.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's definitely always a fan favorite for the kids when they can check out all the equipment. I know my kids love that, so they'll take any chance they can get to do that. And anytime they see lights going by, they're always very excited about that. So
Yep, some great times with the kids, and it's fun to see, because the kids, they don't know, they haven't formed some of their opinions, obviously through the parents, but it really breaks down those barriers when you see the kids and they're having fun. And then the parents, it kind of, if they have a preconceived notion or they have a bad experience with the police, and they see their kids having fun and doing that, it kind of breaks down that wall, and it gives us the opportunity to visit with the parents kind of on a different platform than they would have experienced, or that the last interaction you had was on a traffic stop,
Right.
Something like that. So it's a good opportunity for everybody.
Well, what do you say is some of the biggest public safety challenges currently facing Westminster?
We're not immune to what's happening across the United States, or that you see in the state. So generally speaking, as it relates to violent crime is down, which is obviously a great thing. But where we are seeing issues is property crimes, business burglaries, home burglaries, and retail theft. And we have seen an influx of that across the metro area, in the state. I don't know if the nation is necessarily experiencing that, but we're seeing that across the state. We're not necessarily seeing gangs per se, but we are seeing some crews, and I'll just say there's a difference for us. Before we can classify somebody as a gang, it's got to meet certain criteria, and it's got to be labeled actually through the Department of Justice. It's not anything that the Westminster Police Department can say, hey, this is a gang. But we'll see different crews, different, and they're organized. I mean, there is no doubt it's an organized crew that will come in. But we've seen some upticks in retail theft. We have some detectives working with our retailers and our loss prevention personnel to better tackle that, and to also make sure that information is shared. So if something happens at one retail center, that it's shared across the city, and quite honestly across the North Metro area, so we can do a better job of one, preventing that. But then if somebody from loss prevention sees that, hopefully they can alert us ahead of time, or hey, I just saw Norm walk into the store, and we know that he's been identified as doing these other things in other cities. So we can work with loss prevention to hopefully either prevent it or apprehend them as it happens, or right after it happens. So we're working a lot with the retailers in that aspect of it. One of the things that we've seen, fortunately, we've seen a decline here in the last couple of months, but we have seen an influx over the last year of business burglaries, into where they're, I'll say, for lack of a better term, stalking the business owner or the proprietor. What they're doing is they're following them or setting up cameras, and they're watching them for a week or two to see when they come, when they go. What are they headed to work? Are they headed home, and what those hours are? And then they're burglarizing. They have burglarized their homes while they're at work. They know that you're at work, and so we know that the house is going to be empty. The kids are at school. Those types of things. And sadly, what it's been, They've targeted some of our minority communities. Some of the minority communities don't always trust or have a trust in the banking system because of some of the places that they've relocated from across the world, where there's been a lot of theft and lack of trust there. So they have stored some of their money and some of those valuables at the house, and so they've been greater victims across the state here in the last couple of months. What we've tried to do through social media, but also through some of the like the Denver Asian business community, getting word out to those folks to make sure that they are doing everything they can and making sure that their neighbors are aware. As much as you don't like maybe involving your neighbors in some of your personal business, but making sure your neighbors are aware of what they're doing and the vehicles that are coming and going in case that they are watching.
Yeah. Well, I know in my neighborhood, people definitely pay attention to who's coming and going, and if there's a car that's been parked too long, and there have been times where the car was stolen and abandoned. So, calling that type of thing in is definitely important.
It's imperative. Like I said, I mean, we come out there and you find out that it's a long lost neighbor that's looking to surprise you because they looked you up. Hey, fantastic. But if it's somebody doing something that they shouldn't be, coming out there and letting them know that people are watching and that we're going to respond out there and find out who they are and what they're doing. And that's the best thing we can do is have that partnership for both the homeowner and for the business owner.
Would you say that's probably the best way that the citizens in Westminster can partner with you and support, the police department?
I would absolutely say so. That's absolutely the best thing. And people, we're in a fortunate spot right now as it relates to Westminster. I can't speak to all the other agencies around us, but where we are very, very close to being fully staffed. So when we were, the last couple of years when we haven't been staffed, we were very reactive, which isn't a great way to be protecting the community. Obviously, that's a part of our business, but we also want to be proactive and having officers, going up and down the residential communities and the business areas and getting out on foot and checking some of those things. And so, being able to be proactive and having people realize that they can call. So many times we hear, well, I didn't think it was that big a deal and I didn't want to bother you. What I would say is please bother us. We want to be able to come out there and help the community and help people out. Obviously, we can't be everywhere all at once. So the opportunity to respond to those, maybe it doesn't seem like a big deal at the time, but we will never know what we truly prevent in those things. The other piece of that is when things happen, in your neighborhood, there's obviously a lot of people have like Ring doorbell cameras and different surveillance cameras around your house. Take the time to review those. If it's something going on in the neighborhood, we try and reach out to the neighbors when we're investigating that crime. If something happens at your house, we try and reach out to the neighbors. But if we only go down, one or two houses or three houses, maybe something if you hear your neighbors are aware through different apps, like Nextdoor and that type of stuff, review your video camera stuff. There may be something, it might just seem innocuous that somebody's walking down the street or there's a vehicle driving down the street. If something happens around that time, review that and let us know. We'll be more than happy to collect that. It may turn into be nothing, but it may be something that helps us solve the case.
Yeah, absolutely. So we obviously have a lot of business owners watching since we're the chamber, and you mentioned kind of an increase in people watching business owners and targeting, either their homes or businesses. Are there things that people can be doing to be more aware or to, help mitigate in this in some way?
There's I would say a couple different things that you can do as a business owner. One, and it's very difficult. I find this difficult in my own life, but try not to be predictable. If you always leave and you always drive the same way home, if you always come in the same way, and believe me, I'm running late like everybody else is, but you tend to take the most direct route to and from work. If you can mix that up, so if somebody is following you, or go down a residential street to a dead end and see who's following you. If you think that's going on, if you legitimately think somebody's following you, please call the police department. You please don't go home. If you think somebody's following you, drive to the police department. Call us on your way here and let us know, hey, I think this person's following me. I don't know who they are. Whatever that may be, definitely don't take them to your house. Another thing that we offer both for residential homes, but as well as businesses, is we offer a home security survey or a business security survey. One of the things that we look at is crime prevention. It's called CPTED, is kind of the acronym, but it's crime prevention through environmental design. What we'll do is we'll come out to your house or your business and we will take a look kind of through our lens of things that may help you or your business be safer. As it relates to, I'll just say trees. People, obviously people like having trees, around your business, around your house. But if the trees are cutting into the video cameras and where the video cameras can't see to your business and that type of thing, it may actually be mitigating what some of those security systems can do. So that is the service that we offer through the police department. You set up a date and time that's convenient for you, and we can come out there and walk through that with you. And we walk through it with you. It's not something we do on our own and ask you questions and ask you how things are working with these things. But just you can look through some of that stuff through our lens and see where maybe some improvements can be made on that.
Great. What was the name of the program? I want to put it in the notes so people can look it
up. It's called CPTED. It's CPTED, but it's crime prevention through environmental design.
Thank you. And I assume that people can just find that information on the city website.
You should be able to find it through our city website, but if there's if you're interested in doing that for your business, I can just give you the best person to contact in our department is Drew Smith. He's a commander. He's the commander over special events and engagement. But his email is dsmith@westminsterco.gov.
Thank you. Okay, I'll get that up in the notes too. Appreciate that. That might be something that a lot of business members are that might be new to them. I certainly didn't know that was an option. So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely, yes.
How else is the department addressing concerns about crime trends in the area? Do you have anything else that you'd like to speak to about that?
I would say the other big thing that we are doing, and again, as an industry, we weren't always great at it, but is making sure that we are sharing information with other departments, both federal and state agencies, but as well as our local partners. People, back in 20, 30 years ago, crime may have been more centralized to different cities. Now, as big as our cities are getting, as much as they border each other, sometimes you can't tell when you're driving through Arvada or Westminster or Broomfield. The criminals sure don't commit to just committing crimes in one area. So making sure that when we're having those business burglaries, harassments, whatever the crime may be, we're very good now about sharing those, especially with our bordering agencies, with Broomfield, North Glen, Federal Heights, Arvada, and making sure that they're aware, and then also making sure that they, if they've identified people that are suspects, to make sure that we have that information. And then again, forensically, kind of tracking back, whether it be video, fingerprints, DNA, making sure that we're doing thorough investigations and then sharing that information to see if we can't clean up some of those cases. So we provide a service to our community.
Awesome. And you mentioned kind of partnerships with other departments. Are there any other local businesses or organizations that you find that partnership to be particularly impactful?
I would say not one over the other, just opportunities like this with the Chamber of Commerce. Obviously, through our economic development department that we have with the city, any opportunity that we can to network with businesses in our community and with neighborhoods, obviously the HOAs, but not everybody belongs to an HOA, and so to make sure that we're hitting some of those community meetings and making sure that we're available, doing some of those things, but really any opportunity like this and others to share the message and to make sure that people understand that if they see something, say something.
Got it. So what's one thing about being chief of police that might surprise people?
that it's going to sound weird, but that I'm no longer a police officer. I am by the state, but people have the idea that I'm, work nights and weekends, and I'm out there on graveyards, and a lot of my time is spent in meetings, planning budgets, planning, personnel, policy and procedures, those types of things. I joke with people that I'm no longer a cop, and yes, I am officially. Don't get me wrong. By the state and by the city, I'm still a police officer, but it is the farthest thing from police work that I do anymore as it relates to the day-to-day activities. I still can go out on the street and do those things, but quite honestly, the time spent is for, again, budget planning, personnel, policies and procedures, community meetings like this, which are vitally important. But the idea that I have been out recently and made an arrest would be a false assumption.
Yeah, I think that happens in a lot of industries where you kind of get promoted out of the job.
Yes. Blessed to be here. It's a great job, but yeah, it's one of those where you get into police work and you are driving the police car and doing all that stuff, and the community sees you, and they're out there, they're doing this, and if you see me driving from one place to another, I'm probably just going to another meeting.
Got it. So how do you stay motivated and manage the stress in such a demanding role?
Staying motivated, it's going to the graveyard shift and staying engaged with the young folks that work here. It absolutely motivates you. It reminds you of why you got into this business. Doing meetings like this and engaging with the community. We deal with, in our line of work, we basically deal with 10% of the population. And we are, through the engagement piece, we're reminded why we're here and that we're here for the other 90% of the community. The other 90% of the community wants us out there. They want us being proactive. They want us doing our job. And so going to some of these, going to the Taste of Westminster, going to some of the different city events and engaging with folks, it's a not so general reminder of why we're here and meeting those people and talking with them about how, appreciative that they are that we're doing our job and out there engaging and being proactive. That is motivating. I mean, it really is. The other piece, as it relates to the stress, is finding something that is the farthest thing from law enforcement. Making sure that you have family and friends that aren't in law enforcement to help you stay grounded. Again, having those conversations of, oh yeah, we only deal with 10% of the population that doesn't want us there. That are out there committing the crimes, because the other 90% really, most people want us out there doing our job and being proactive and engaging with the community and providing a safe community.
Awesome. So what are your interests that help you unwind outside of work?
So the biggest one for me is we have horses. So going out there and taking care of the animals, they don't care. What you do day in and day out, they want to know that you're there to care for them. And it's way more therapeutic than I ever would have realized. Taking care of a horse, just like taking care of a dog, they have their own personalities. Obviously they're a little bit bigger, but they have their own personalities. And when you're out there brushing them and taking care of them and riding them and doing different things, you just have you forget some of the stresses that you have in your life. And it's very, very therapeutic.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I used to ride horses a lot and haven't in a long time, but it was very relaxing and one of the coolest things.
Yes, yep, it is. It's just a different. It's like any animal. I mean, quite honestly, it's just you take your focus and you put it into caring for that animal and doing different things with it or training it and that type of stuff, and you forget some of what your other stresses are, and which is a positive thing.
Yeah,
yes,
definitely.
You have to have that to be, in my opinion, you have to have that in this business to stay mentally healthy, and so you don't end up drinking and doing some of those other things that can have a negative effect on your career and in your life. Yeah. So you got to have some of those outlets. Mental health is very important in this business.
Well, my last question is, what do you enjoy most about living and working in Westminster?
I think the community, we are very, yes, we're a suburb, you're between Denver and Boulder and that type of thing, but we have a very special community here, they watch out for each other. They have always been very supportive of the police department. Our city council and our city manager's office has always been very supportive of the police department and the work that we do. People obviously want us out there, and you don't see that in a lot of communities. Some you do, some you don't. As we've seen over the last several years, you don't always see that support from the city managers, from city council, from the community. When you saw some of those negative things in the news the last few years, I can't tell you how many people would stop by the police department with cards, with food, with gifts, just letting them know how much that we were valued. And like I said, you don't always see that, and no one will we have here in our community. We're very, very fortunate in it. God willing, I will retire from here in 10 or 15 years. I have no intentions of leaving because of the community that we have here, and it's an honor and a privilege to be the chief in the city of Westminster.
Awesome, great. Thank you so much for joining me on the broadcast today. We'll get you looped into the schedule, so we'll have you on again. But I think it was a lot of good information that we haven't had before, so I really appreciate it.
I absolutely appreciate the time, and it's been a privilege to be here and to speak with everybody. Thank you.
All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your week, and thanks for everybody who joined, and we'll see you next week.